And it's time. What's up, Reefer Revolutionaries? It's 420 in California. This is Reefer Revolution Live.
But I think in terms of marijuana, and legalization, I think that should be a state issue, state by state. I think it's up to the states, yeah. I'm a states person. I think it should be up to the states, absolutely. You know, I know people that are very, very sick, and for whatever reason, the marijuana really helps them.
Good people don't smoke marijuana.
Well, the good people of the states around America are moving on with cannabis for sure. But the Cannabis Caucus up on the Hill was getting it done this week. Mostly, the VA had to put the kibosh on the last amendment of the week. Oy, the VA hurting veterans again. Meanwhile, Boehner is back in the news. Not only was he brought up in Congress, but he's going to be on Axios on HBO tonight. You know what? I think he might be all in on cannabis.
All in. This is the time to go all in on cannabis.
Ah, yes. And who's all in? The people over at Weed TV, the Cannabis Media Network, and the California Cannabis... whoever these people are. The Bureau of California Cannabis. Bureau of Cannabis Control. That's it, control. It's all about control. And they want to control you to buy legal weed. Legal weed. Get weed wise. Reefer Madness 3.0. Don't buy the out-of-focus weed. That's the telltale sign, is out-of-focus weed. Get weed wise. What's up, Reefer Revolutionaries? It is indeed 420 in Reefer Mad, California. And this is Reefer Revolution Live, the show where we spark up, talk about marijuana in the mainstream media, the politics of pot and cannabis cures. And of course, when I say we, I say all of the wonderful folks that are joining in the chat, as well as my co-host in life and in all things cannabis, Coach Chela. Your microphone is off. I don't know. I think so.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, she is. Yay. We do. We try to conserve our batteries.
Yep.
Because they do take up a lot of space.
Well, they suck up real good when you use them.
Right next to the doob tubes, the lighters, and now all of the packaging from the 10 milligram maximum dosage per package in Canada for their edibles.
Crazy town. Crazy town. They're going to be the smallest little packages ever. If we thought that there was a Great Pacific Gyre before,
I'm telling
just you wait.
So let's a little bit about packaging. What are you guys smoking today? We are busting out some Flow Kana, some minis. We got some Flow Kana minis happening here.
We shopped compliant.
We shopped compliant this week.
We got our Flow Kana minis.
We were overcome by the propaganda.
We don't have time. So we got our Flow Kana minis on, and we got them at our favorite local dispensary, which is called Cornerstone Research Collective.
Research Collective, yes.
The fella who started Cornerstone wrote this book, and the director at Cornerstone is one of the honchos at the UCBA.
The UCBA. That's where we went.
Friday.
Last minute, we got the great opportunity to go to.
It was a great opportunity.
No, it was amazing. Actually,
it was a huge opportunity. I was so happy we got invited.
I learned a lot.
Yeah. Thank you, Luis.
Yes. Thank you so much, Luis.
Thank you, Collective Strategies LA and Social Equity LA for providing us this opportunity.
Yeah, we had not planned on going to this event, just because of, we didn't
Our
know.
focus is really mostly medical.
Yeah.
Not so much business and compliance and all that. But we got free tickets.
Yeah.
Last minute. Yeah. So what the heck?
And it was right here in our in our backyard.
In our backyard.
So we went, and it was enlightening, to say the least. It did turn out to be the official launch of the
we may not have gone if we'd known.
California's campaign to get people to buy legal.
That's what the media is spinning it as. But if you look at the campaign itself, I don't think it says legal or illegal in the campaign.
Okay, so the 3 videos I just played were
it's like compliant.
Were called What's in Your Weed Shouldn't Be a Mystery.
That's fine. I respect that.
And the second one was Shop Legal Cannabis in California.
Ooh, legal, that's bad.
And the third one was Shop at Licensed Cannabis Retailers.
Okay, that's fine. But
so
licensed, unlicensed.
Three-pronged approach.
I like licensed, unlicensed. I don't like legal, not legal.
Well, it was interesting that that became part of the contrast at the meeting.
It was
immediately.
Beautiful. It was really awesome.
It was as a matter of fact, the head administrator, head bureaucrat, for the lack of a better word, in Los Angeles, now with a big team, not on her own, Kat Packer doing, hero's work. Yeah. Hero's work, in this market in Los Angeles and its challenges, challenged the, pretty much the underlying theme of, this campaign, which was launched, was that let's not call it an illegal market. Let's call it an unregulated market.
Regulated and unregulated.
Regulated and unregulated.
Because words matter.
Exactly. And
it was very exciting.
And also...
I don't know that anybody noticed that besides us.
And wanted to also stop using the term black market, which is used so much, as is the word marijuana, which we reference in our show, because that is how the mainstream media and much of the law, many of the laws, and on the federal level, it is referenced. So until we can overcome all of that, it is going to be, that's going to have to be referred to in many, many respects. It's even referred to in the largest cannabis company in the world, regulated canopy growth. They still call it marijuana. So we get a lot of challenges there to get it to be cannabis. There are laws actually passing specifically to remove the M word. We'll just start calling it the M word. The new M word, and use cannabis. So that's good. That's good. And also to stop using the term black market and use unregulated versus regulated. And there are other variations, I suppose. But interesting that contrast. The video, a lot of other interesting aspects to the the tax and regulatory system here in California. Many of which, 77% of the state, is unable to participate in because of local jurisdiction. So we have the largest, essentially, cannabis economy in the world, California, and 77% of the state is unable to participate in the commercial cannabis industry. And now many medical as well. Medical rolled up in many of these jurisdictions as well. It's part of what's in the news this week, talking about what's going on here in California and what's going on in other states where recreational is coming in, and how it might affect the medical marijuana programs, medical cannabis programs in states that are relatively successful in some and not so much in others. One of the articles this week in the Cannabis Chronicle is about how Oregon's medical cannabis industry was destroyed by recreational. I don't know a whole lot about Oregon's medical. I heard it's basically all medical in Oregon, isn't it? And for the most part, and it's very easy. So I don't know a whole lot about Oregon's law. Maybe we should get Bingus on here at some point and talk about that a little bit. But I know they have a lot of pot. And they do have pot for pennies up there in Oregon, and that's their major concern, is they have too much weed. Apparently we have way too much illegal, quote, unregulated weed here in California, as well as some of the largest busts are happening around the state. And also more to come, promised more to come, as the city of LA is starting to crack down more on the shops, their focus. And I think the state, if you look at this campaign and sort of break down this, Weed for Warriors did a great post this week about this campaign. I'll pull it up here. But basically, it's Nancy Reagan is applauding in her grave over this new program.
I'm pretty sure she's still alive.
Oh, Nancy Reagan. Sorry, yes, Nancy's still alive. Thank you for clarifying that. Is she? Is she really?
I think so. I'll double check.
That'd be fun. I guess we should stay on top of that. I don't
Whatever.
really care. But Weed for Warriors part says, Nancy Reagan's Just Say No absurdity is about to get a rebirth for California's illicit cannabis market. What they won't tell you, it's less about safety and all about market share for the owner class and for their profit partners.
No, she died.
In California's government. Yeah, that's it. The war on the people's market is in full effect, and the propaganda is about as honest as Nancy was. No tax money for the kids, no tax money for education, no tax money for healthcare, but lots of money for the police and their special interests. Oh, also, you can't buy legal pot in 3/4 of California because it's banned. So what's a patient to do? Buy illegal. That's what they do. Their new picture is disobey. Pot not pills. Over
I like
there,
it.
The Weed for Warriors project.
I like it. I was saying that I feel
Sean,
like now is the
doing
time
great work.
to be disobedient.
Well, it is more illegal than legal in many ways, not only here, but also in Canada. We're seeing, basically it is drug war 3, 2, 3. Nancy was Nancy 2. This is
Right?
3.
Yeah, the reborn.
But if you look at their program, at their propaganda that they're putting out, trying to get folks to, hey, if it's open past 7:00, that's an illegal shop. Make sure you don't shop there. So they're focusing on the shops, which are basically, admittedly, they said it's whack-a-mole. The folks from the Bureau was saying it's whack-a-mole in many localities, and particularly in Los Angeles. They are going to start coming after sort of a 3-pronged approach as far as going after the employees, the proprietor, and the landowner. And the plan is, we'll see how good this goes, but the plan is to, basically just not arrest the employees, but give them fines, civil, administrative remedies, as AKA fines.
They like to say.
Yes. And then, of course, they'll ruin your credit, probably take your house, do all kinds of other stuff. But they won't put you in jail. And then they're going to go after the folks that own the shops. And then, of course, on the other side, they're going to go after the landowners. And one of the ways they're doing that here in L.A. that they've decided to do is to basically go after their power and shut them down. So you see this up in Canada. You see this on many of the farms here in California. And you see the folks that have the money or are able to muster the resources to get involved in this tax and regulate scheme, overtax and over-regulate scheme. They are desperately trying to pass a legislation to give us a 4% tax break on the 15% tax that the state puts on here in California. Desperately trying to get that passed, but they can't get that passed. 4%. They're also trying to get passed AB 34, which would put a little bit of compassion back into California, which is what cannabis came from in California, was vetoed by Governor Rainbow.
Moonbeam.
Sorry,
You're
Governor
getting
Moonbeam.
it confused with the origins of cannabis,
That's
which
true.
is Dennis Perone
Right.
and the AIDS movement.
I am. You're true. It's true.
Being Pride Month, I could see how you would get that confused.
Confusion is a very high state of being,
It
as
is.
Confucius say.
It is. It's true. But go on.
But
Governor Moonbeam.
Governor Moonbeam vetoed the first iteration of this because it wasn't in the spirit of Prop 64, which means show me the money, show me the profit, show me the tax money. And of course, they were lamenting about how little tax money they got here in California. A measly $400 million in the entire state was brought in under legal cannabis because legal cannabis sales dropped. The medical cannabis, legal medical cannabis was, had like $3 billion. I think it dropped like $300 million or something, somewhere around there. But there was a decent drop in sales for legal sales in California. Those are folks doing what Sean over at Weed for Warriors is suggesting, still calling their guy or using their collective, which became illegal. Interesting that there are still folks in this space that are quoting that law, which was one of the laws that was passed along the history of cannabis here in California to allow one person to grow and make medicine for multiple patients here in the state, because cancer patients just go grow your 99 or 12 plants because you need that much. Why don't you go grow it?
Sure,
So-
by all means, in all your spare time.
Yeah, so
Sure, you're trying to work and maintain your benefits and all that stuff, but grow your plants, grow your medicine too,
yeah,
because you have time for that.
without and stay alive and meanwhile juggle your poison from the big pharma.
Yeah.
So that was basically shut down early this year. They were given a year to get their ducks in a row and utilize a report that was supposed to be turned in to the state of California about the nonprofit system. Dave Chela, did you hear anything on that meeting about the nonprofit report that was supposed to be forthcoming according to Prop 64? It was delayed a year, which is now.
There was no mention of nonprofit model. There was no mention of medicine. There was no mention of patients. There was a little mention of access, that in 80% of the state there's still limited access. That was the only thing that was mentioned of those things. Where you can buy the weed and pay the man. Woman, as it were.
Or the woman, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
I like her. I like her so much. I love Fiona Ma. She's fighting for banking.
Fiona Ma is awesome, man.
I love her.
I'd say she is probably, she's more powerful than Mnuchin. Maybe not Mnuchin, but she's probably the second most powerful Treasury Secretary in the country, outside, certainly the most powerful state one.
I'm going to send her notes.
She goes through or has to deal with.
Yes.
So very impressive. And these are women leading, some doing, they're all doing very crazy work. I mean, this is literally, you're taking a completely and still federally illegal, substance and trying to create a business, a model in a state unregulated. So you're pleasing the people who don't want it at all. So they want super regulation, and the other people who don't want to pay for the regulation, but they want to sell it. And then you got the patients that are just like, would you please leave me alone? So, so that, it's not an easy job. And Kat Packer, in particularly, dealing with Los Angeles, who now at least is not just one person in the office. She has 21 people that are trying to get the equity program going here in Los Angeles, which has its good points and its bad points. There was much support for the equity program in Los Angeles from people who are benefiting from that. It's a pretty decent program from what I've heard and understand. There are definitely challenges and barriers within that program itself, trying to keep corporate cannabis out, which is something more and more people are just saying we're going to have to live with. And certainly that's the way it sounded at this meeting, is that, corporate cannabis is here to stay. Despite the fact that locally, interestingly enough, the city of West Hollywood has not granted 4 of the original stores, including MedMen.
Mm-hmm. Well, MedMen wasn't really the original. I think they absorbed the one that we used to go to, which was the real original.
Right. They bought it. They were the original.
Yeah.
Because they even said that they have 90% of their sales are recreational. How dare you not give us a recreational license? A recreational license. But then, and you're calling yourself an original store? There was no recreational originally in West Hollywood, guys.
Right.
West Hollywood, if you don't know the history, West Hollywood is probably second in line to San Francisco in the cannabis movement in California. Mm-hmm. And they were right out there on the front lines saying, we want cannabis in our city. We want our patients to have access in our state city lines. Because
it was people living with AIDS.
That's right.
That were on the front lines of moving the idea of cannabis as medicine forward. Dennis Perone in San Francisco created these wild spectacles and moved everything forward, was willing to go to jail, was willing to put everything on the line to let the man know that cannabis is medicine and he's going to provide it to people who need it. People living with AIDS, older people, seniors didn't even need a medical recommendation. They could go into his shop and get cannabis. So right. Dennis Perone is why we are where we are today. So Pride Month to me is extra special for the cannabis movement because it's because of Dennis Perone and the modern pride movement that we are all rising together. So yeah. So to answer your question, Sausage Gravy Biscuit, it's not exactly the Gay Pride channel, but in a way we are this month for sure, and we rest on the shoulders of Dennis Perone and his movement to be where we are.
There were a lot of many patients, cancer patients, that benefited from the Dennis Perone's heroism and activism in getting this plant recognized as medicine with Prop 215, and then its subsequent laws that to get medicine to people. And we had a good medical system here. You know, was the tax man getting everything that they deserved or wanted? Did we render unto Caesar for this medicine? Probably not as much as they wanted, but they got some. They definitely take it. They even said it. Fiona Ma said, "Oh, we'll take your money. Give us your money. You know, we don't care if you're licensed or not or whatever. We'll take your money
in cash or whatever."
So so we have this profit driven, and we heard that at actually State of Cannabis, sponsored by Social Equity LA and California Cannabis Coalition and Collective Strategies. There was much conversation about how the patients are being left behind in this profit driven motive of Prop 64. So all the patients that actually use this as medicine, and all of the recreational companies say this is medicine, this is actually medicine, but we want to be considered healthcare stocks. We don't want to be considered alcohol stocks. Don't put us in that group. It's medicine, but we tax medicine. New Jersey this week, despite New York's failure to pass recreational, I don't know if that's failure. It's not gonna curb New York's cannabis use. Trust me. It's just gonna curb the tax revenue that they're gonna get. But New Jersey has expanded their medical cannabis program, which includes lowering the taxes for medical patients, which California seems not able to do. Except maybe now. Maybe we can. With AB 34 and Gavin Newsom, and we met basically the cannabis czar for Gavin Newsom here in California was at this meeting as well. And we hope to see compassion come back into California state law with regards to cannabis, and to give these, basically there's an article in the Chronicle this week about how Prop 64 taxes are threatening organizations and groups like Weed for Warriors and Sweet Leaf, who gets medicine to cancer patients and AIDS patients, and Weed for Warriors, who gets cannabis to veterans for PTSD. And what did the Veterans Administration do on the Hill this week? In a hugely successful week, I would say, for cannabis on the Hill. To talk a little bit about politics and what's going on this week. You saw basically a strongest language amendment and protection of state cannabis laws that we've ever seen make it through the House on a voice and floor vote. And essentially, it's being lobbied against by corporate cannabis, by the company that created Epidiolex and got a patent on it and got it passed through the FDA. CBD, plant-based CBD molecule, is saying, no, you can't pass this. You can't pass this law. What do you mean? Why would you say that? Why would they try to stop this law that says the states can do what they want with their cannabis laws? Well, that's because they don't want the DOJ not to be able to help the FDA go after CBD companies and hemp because of the dangers of CBD and putting it in food and essentially. So they're trying to keep the monopoly and not allow states to create their hemp programs that they're doing, and not allowing the DOJ to be the enforcement arm of the Food and Drug Administration. That's what they are afraid this law will do. It'll make it's so broad that it'll stop the DOJ from using any of their resources to enforce FDA rules. So it's fascinating what's going on in Congress. And then as far as there was much success, however, on the Hill with regards to passing amendments. Now we'll see how far these all go in the Senate. We had, as a matter of fact, I'm going to wet my whistle a little bit, maybe get into the chat.
Don't. Just keep going.
Just
you
keep
should
going?
Stay out of there. It's a mess.
It's a mess in the chat?
It's a terrible mess.
It's
We're gonna
moving
keep
along.
Moving on. Go on. Let's talk news.
Let's talk news, shall we?
Yes, please.
Pass the salt, as they say. And what news are we talking about? We're not talking about just any news. We're talking about DC420LA.com, a cannabis chronicle, where you get one measly newsletter a week.
Measly. It's jam-packed. Are you kidding?
One jam-packed
just today,
newsletter.
I was saying that you have to talk about one part and I can talk about the other because it's just too much.
It's too much. Don't speak. Don't speak. There's too much. There's too much cannabis news. There's good news. There's great news. There's bad news. There's all kinds of news over at DC420LA.com, a cannabis chronicle. We try to fill it with all of the most relevant stuff that we find and want to talk about on our show. And there is a bunch of stories this week that we've sort of been touching on as we've been speaking. In addition, I will usually tweet these stories out throughout the week over at DC420LA on Twitter. I do not know where you tweet, but I do most of my tweeting over on Twitter. And you can follow me at DC420LA. You can also follow the show Twitter, which isn't very active yet. We're working on it. We're trying at Reefer Rev Show. But what is more active is, of course, the Instagram. And Chela's going to start, we're going to start putting out some more stuff on the Instagram. We promise.
Man,
Reefer
we'll get
Rev Show.
there.
Well, I'll to be quite honest, anti-social media, I know, is how you're supposed to get information out and advertise your brand and your products and build your influence on things, but it's really it's a cesspool, as is often many, not this one usually, but many YouTube chats on many shows becomes quite unruly and hate-filled, which is unfortunate. So we don't use the socials as much as many others that are trying to promote. And there's another quite.
Sometimes the hate comes to you, but you love it away, don't we?
You love it away.
We love it away.
You focus on what you want.
Sending love and light to all those who have no tolerance for others.
Listen, this is why
God
we
bless you. Move along.
This is why we don't watch a lot of news or try to stay away from a lot of news, because it's all the same stuff. It's all garbage. And the more you focus on it, the more energy you give it, the more you're going to just feed it. So, it is actually an awesome thing to say, don't feed the trolls. So, Chela's a good moderator. She's always been
trying.
She's always been very handy at this. One of her favorite things. So, so welcome everybody. Welcome everybody to the chat. Welcome to Reefer Revolution Live. Thank you for engaging, and let's talk about cannabis, shall we? Let's talk about cannabis news. Yes, please. So, Chela, what was your favorite story this week? You want to jump in?
Yes.
You want to break out? You want to break the cycle a little bit? Well, okay. I'll tell you what. Here's what we're gonna do. We've been talking about politics, so we're gonna take a little breath. We're gonna do 3 deep breaths in the chat. Coach Chela is gonna lead us through 3 deep yoga breaths, through filling the stomach, and we're going to Representative Earl Blumenauer, who is, of course, the leader now of the Cannabis Caucus. He has been doing amazing work for years, of course, but he is especially proud of what's happened this week, as well as especially dismayed about what's happened this week with regards to the VA. So we're going to take a little listen to what Earl Blumenauer said about, and he sums it up very well, about kind of where we are with cannabis legalization, as well as where things are moving in the Congress, which last week, to be honest, I did not give the Cannabis Caucus much credit. Say that 3 times fast. I did not give the Cannabis Caucus much credit conclusively for last week. I said they wouldn't pass 3 out of these 4 amendments. They ended up passing 3 out of the 4. I said they'd only do 1. They ended up getting 3 out of 4 through. And the one they did not get through, surprisingly, was the one that I thought that might get through, was the VA one. But of course, they were silent. They were fucking flanked. They were flanked by the VA. So let's take a listen to what Blumenauer said and what happened this week. We'll be right back. This is Reefer Revolution Live, checking out what happened up on the Hill.
This has been a very important week in the evolution of the federal policy to end the failed policy of prohibition on cannabis. Yesterday, the House overwhelmingly approved my amendment that would prohibit the Department of Justice from interfering with any state legal cannabis activities. We'd also approved an amendment that granted the same protections to the tribes. This is remarkable progress that we have seen, but it is just an effort by Congress to catch up to where the rest of the American public is. For the last 23 years, American voters have changed the policies that are outmoded and dangerous. Most recently, we have seen a wave of activity dealing not just with medical marijuana, but with dealing with adult use. The public, by a 2/3 margin, supports this. And when we talk about medical marijuana, it's like the 4th of July. 90% of the American public believe that we ought to have access to medical marijuana. I have been working in this Congress to extend the same opportunities to our veterans, who, if anything, need medical marijuana more than any other category of our citizens. We lost 7,000 people to the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, but we've lost 100,000 of those veterans to suicides and opioid overdoses. The VA, I'm afraid, has not been as helpful as it should be. They prescribe opioids at a rate for our veterans at a rate 50% higher than others. Our veterans are twice as likely to die from overdose. I am deeply concerned about that. That's why I've repeatedly advanced this amendment. 2 sessions ago, it passed the House, it passed the Senate, it was in the final version of the bill, only to be stripped out by the Republican leadership. An illustration of how far we have evolved, the House leadership that stripped this provision out was headed by Speaker Boehner, who is now a spokesperson for the cannabis industry, having described that he's evolved on this issue and thinks it's a good idea. We haven't evolved in this Congress in providing protections for the VA. Even though this amendment has passed repeatedly, all of a sudden the VA has decided, well, they would be putting their doctors at risk. Never came up before. If we'd known about it, we could work it around. I think we can and should work to fix this. It is outrageous that veterans, and if you talk to people like the Veterans Cannabis Coalition, or talk to veterans in your own district, who will tell you that their lives have been transformed by access to medical cannabis, and they don't want highly addictive, dangerous opioids. We need to do right by them. I am going to reluctantly withdraw this amendment that has passed repeatedly on the floor of the House and is so badly needed. And I hope that we'll be able to work together to fix this little quirk, to make sure that VA doctors can do what doctors everywhere do in states where medical cannabis is legal, and be able to work with their patients. The VA ought to give their patients, our veterans, the same consideration to be able to have them be able to have these conversations with the doctors that know them best. But as I say, Madam Chair, I will reluctantly withdraw it, confident that we can work together to solve it and ultimately give our veterans the access that they deserve and need. I withdraw the amendment.
So Representative Earl Blumenauer withdrawing his amendment because of a last-minute kibosh by the VA, basically saying, "Oh, well, you know, our doctors are going to get in trouble. They're going to lose their licenses."
It does put them in jeopardy, but they should make a law to make it not so. Like, take it off the fucking Schedule 1.
Like, put it
That
on
would
schedule,
do it.
like, put it on Schedule 2.
2 would be fine.
I mean, for that purpose, absolutely. It's not fine for us.
No. For
But-
them, for that purpose, incrementally. Everybody knows I don't like incrementalism, but whatever.
And the motives behind this are just really, I just
Disgusting.
I don't get. I guess I get. I guess it's pharma motivated.
Obviously, Big Pharma motivated. The same reason that the Alzheimer's Association testified that there's no efficacy in using cannabis for dementia,
Right.
even though it's one of the top stories this week in the Chronicle.
And those coming in all the time about how it's
I have
good
a
for dementia.
I have a 4-inch notebook that shows a bunch of stories about how cannabis helps dementia.
And that is indeed one of the stories. Cannabis, this is from Next Avenue, where grown-ups keep growing. It's a over 50-centric magazine, I guess, or online magazine. Can medical marijuana help with dementia?
Yeah, if you guys haven't figured out, we tend to lean towards the older people's stories.
Yeah. Some studies and families say yes. Some experts emphasize caution. Why? Just out of curiosity. Why?
Have you lived with somebody living with dementia?
Yeah.
Once you have, you'll know to get them the cannabis today. Super simple.
Caution to the wind. We have no time for caution with dementia. It's only getting worse. And it's 1 in 3. It's going to be 1 in 2 very soon.
And there's no possibility of a black box warning for cannabis.
That's right. Oh, there's that.
Where every other drug that they use currently to treat the behavioral symptoms of dementia currently comes with a black box warning. And a black box warning, for those of you who don't know, is a little box with a black line around it that says, "Not intended for elderly dementia patients, can cause sudden death and organ failure."
Sudden death.
Which wouldn't be so bad if it worked.
Well, listen, that's the thing.
But it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. And in 9 years, it never caused sudden death.
Nope.
I'll tell you that. Well, we didn't. Well, we
No.
she
In the
wasn't
4
on it for
years.
the whole 9 years.
In the 4 years.
In the 4 years.
3
yeah.
years. No, it was a little less than that. 2 years. Then she went back on when she went into the nursing home.
But aren't really all drugs have that warning? I mean, most pharmaceuticals have that sudden death warning on them now.
No, they don't.
Many do.
Just the ones that are being pushed. I think that there's like some sort of financial incentive. Wow, this teeny tiny fan looks so big. In the other shot,
in the shot,
it looks
yes.
enormous.
It does look it's perspective. It's all perspective. Whoa, now it looks really big. It came right in the camera.
Is that better?
That's better. Yeah, it's out of the shot now.
Good.
Is it working for you? The
Yeah,
air's
it's
on
good.
too. I don't know let us know if the sound filter is working. We might sound a little funny, but I think the filter's working. But yeah, so meanwhile, apparently Florida, this came out today actually. I'm going to throw it in the Chronicle at the end of the show. Herald Tribune, Florida's nursing and assisted living homes don't do medical pot.
Assholes.
Which is exactly, this is linked to what the VA did with regards to veterans. The doctors in these facilities, if it's a federally funded in any way, they are not going to talk about it. They're not going to think about it. La, 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 la. Don't even say it. Don't say the words. I don't want to know anything. Nothing. If we catch you, we're going to kick you out. That kind of stuff. We know that happens. So Florida, not so cool. Unfortunate, considering it's probably the biggest medical cannabis population outside of California for seniors. And it's also hugely popular. Everybody wants legal recreational cannabis in Florida.
Well, they think it's recreational because they don't want to be on lists.
Unfortunately.
People who own guns don't want to be on lists.
Here's a tip from Montana with regards to formulating their legal laws. Apparently, they're trying to figure out what kind of a recreational law to formulate. look to Texas. They're a little upset about their Second Amendment rights. So make something in your law that protects that. That might be a nice...
You can't.
That might be... What's that?
You can't because it's federal.
Because
it's a federal stipulation.
Listen, the DOJ, if this amendment gets through, the feds can't come after state laws. So the state could, if the state passes a law that says, something. I don't know.
Blah,
maybe
blah,
you're right.
blah,
Maybe they can't do
are
anything.
okay.
Maybe
Blah,
they
blah.
can do it. Maybe there are states that are passing laws to that effect to protect Second Amendment rights.
Brian, don't talk about that. I don't want to get you in trouble, honey.
What's that? Oh, God.
Ixnay on the ungay octave, okay, Way?
They're collectors. Hunters.
I know, but those who are participating in one thing and know that it's totally illegal really ought not be
I see what you're saying.
Talking about
reason.
it on social media.
Yeah, don't say false flag either. They'll get a shutdown.
No, I didn't say that. You just said that. Why would you do that?
Did I say
Jesus
that? Oh,
Christ.
no. It's Oklahoma. Yeah, I think Oklahoma. Yeah, I think that's...
Oklahoma will have permitless carry.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Think about
Love
that.
Oklahoma.
And the other thing I would think about is home grow. Make sure people are allowed the freedom.
Home grow.
The freedom to grow their own backyard medicine.
Yeah.
I'd say allow people to sell it at your farmer's market.
To your friends.
Because you can go and buy pretty much anything somebody grows in their backyard or their little farm at a farmer's market.
That's
untested.
Right.
Untested.
Right.
And we dare to put it in our bodies.
We dare to eat your neighbor's tomatoes.
Which is just amazing. Just amazing. But apparently, even the tomato growers and the peach growers up in Northern California, up in Humboldt County, are being swept up. It's Camp 2.0. It's got a new smiley face on it, but they're rating greenhouses no matter what's in them. If they suspect there might be cannabis, and we'll get into the story maybe, but if they suspect, because it just came out today, if they suspect it might be cannabis, but it's a greenhouse, they're not sure, they'll go in no matter what, whether it's tomatoes or peaches or something else that's in that greenhouse. And they're like, sorry. So,
but there was a terrible raid this week in California.
Specifically on a cannabis farm.
On a cannabis farm. Yes. And it's really shitty. I think that they should take all the cannabis that they cut down.
Big one. 20 tons.
Horrifying.
20 tons.
Just awful.
Medicine.
They should test all that medicine and give it to people in need if they wish to do such draconian things. What they really should do is make easier pathways into the regulated market. They make it cost so much to get into the regulated market that it's not easy for people to get in, especially since you can't get loans. You can't get business loans because you want to start a cannabis business. So where are you supposed to find the money?
There's that.
To get into it. It's insane.
It's
insane.
The story, according to the media, and I'm sure this is all based on authorities' reporting to the media, is that they were falsifying documents and temporary licenses. So, but based on the other story,
so they're clever.
That they don't care. Well, maybe they're clever, yeah, and don't have enough. They have enough money to fake a document, which is easy.
That's easy.
The traditional market is getting very savvy. Their quality is going up as well.
And they're doing testing.
They're doing testing. Listen, the regulated market, these labs are getting busted right and left for falsifying documents.
That's right.
And upping THC levels. So give me a break. Give me a break about these, they're falsifying their license and their license is a temporary license. Maybe they were. But
at that meeting yesterday, It was interesting because, most of the people who have gotten into the regulated cannabis space have been working in the cannabis space before it was legal.
Right.
And they know what it took to get into it in the regulated space. And of course they wish it to succeed, and they are having a tough time competing with the unregulated market. But they don't want their old friends, who are now their greatest competitors, to go to jail. that was really clear. Kat Packer made that very clear, and so did the others, really, that, you know, they're going to shut things down, but they don't want people to go to jail. But please stop doing it, because they don't want everybody to go to jail. They should make an easier pathway. I was not happy that there was no ability to ask questions.
Yeah, they didn't do any questions. That was unfortunate.
Yeah, I'd like their, but you know, it wasn't about that. That wasn't that sort of event.
Jilly
it was
Love,
like a publicity event.
Jilly Love, to answer your question, Willow Creek. Willow Creek is where this story comes from, and I'll read a little bit of it. Just breaking today. I'll put it in the Chronicle. This is from the Mercury News. Humboldt County threatened cannabis fines. They were growing peaches and tomatoes. County's cannabis abatement program looks for greenhouses, asks questions later. Farmer Tom O'Gorman, a self-described old hippie, quote, who took part in the 70s Back to Land movement, admits he matches the profile of a cannabis grower, right down to his large greenhouse in rural Willow Creek, along with the notice he received earlier this month to shut down his illegal marijuana operation. Just one issue with the picture. O'Gorman says that while he fully supports cannabis legalization, he's never grown the plant himself. The Trinity River farm he owns harvests fruits and vegetables as well as local jams, jellies, and sauces. But Gorman's greenhouse is large enough to have flagged on Humboldt County's satellite mapping system, the same one that helped the county increase its cannabis code enforcement by 700% in 2018. That from the Mercury News today. Coming out of Humboldt. More illegal now that it's legal. You can't even have a big greenhouse without having the man go, wait a minute, what's going on? Send this guy a letter. Shut down that operation. What operation? You see that in that wonderful piece of work on Netflix called Murder Mountain, which also is right up there at the top of bubbling propaganda.
Just like knowing your grower, know
right.
your filmmaker.
Know your filmmaker. Don't trust us.
Know your source.
You've seen State and Maine.
Know your source. Always know your source.
But part of that was about the effect of Prop 64 on the growers up there and the different families that are trying to either get into the business or stay out of the business. And one of these growers that was all permitted up, has all of their documentation. They were following them around through the show. The sheriffs rolled in because they had an address and they were at the wrong address. So I think the only reason they didn't take out that farm and start cutting down cannabis plants is because there was a film crew there. They happened to merge. They were following the sheriffs and what they were doing and following the just happened to. Nothing just happens in Hollywood. But they were following the two. And lo and behold, they were accidentally about to shut down this legal cannabis farm. So, and like the jurisdictions that are basically flouting the decriminalization efforts across the country, local cops and drug enforcers are saying, well, we'll just we can't charge them with a city crime. Well, we'll just charge them with a state crime because that's better anyway. So if we can't charge them with a city crime for this possession, we'll charge them for a state crime. And there are police departments that are outright saying that. So that's what will happen. It'll be selective enforcement, as we've seen many more arrests in many communities in Colorado happening. This is, of course, because of the pressure that's coming from, in part, pressure coming from the prohibitionists trying to make sure that enforcement is happening. And that's the Weed for Warriors nailed it with regards to what's going on with the taxes in California. There's no taxes going to education and the taxes, they're like, it's going to enforcement, baby. We're going to shut down these guys that aren't paying their taxes, that can't get into the system because there's only so many shops they're ever going to allow in Los Angeles.
Well, for now.
They got a cap on this. They got a cap on that. The big growers are coming in, pretty soon before they get all this worked out, because they're not even, a lot of these companies it's like, okay, I was a collective. This was a great interview on the Future Cannabis Project that interviewed a dispensary owner. And she had gone through the whole, from the very beginning. She had a collective pre-ICO. They called them here pre-ICO. And okay, can't do that. You got to apply for that. Okay, she apply for that. Social equity, apply for that. She opened up a CBD store. She's going to open up a hemp store. So now it's got a problem with the hemp store. So, and she said it's like there's no they said they were so excited about how many permanent licenses they have gotten out. I think they
were super proud.
They were super proud of
we did all this great work. We're like, what the fuck?
250 permanent growers licenses in the state. I think less than that even. But like closer to 2,500 provisional, temporary.
Well, like 50,000 families make a living like this.
And then the other one was were dispensaries. I think they were at 150 or some ridiculously low number of permanent licenses. Now we've been talking about this on the show that these deadlines all came up where all the temporary licenses were about to expire. And a lot of them they started to expire, so they had to extend it. They were all extending these temporary licenses so that people can still legally be growing. And it's this total, not only is it a gray area federally, but here there's this event. Wonderful, nice event, awesome event. You should have more of those events.
Yeah.
There should be more of those events. Open to the public and are not so private and costly. They weren't actually, it wasn't costly to us, but it was still accessible price wise, wasn't it? No?
It was $75.
Oh, it was better than a lot, I guess.
I mean, it wasn't free. $800.
Not free, exactly.
It wasn't $25.
It wasn't, it was a small B2B legislative update for 2019, essentially, for the cannabis industry, hosted by the what are they called? The
United Cannabis Business Alliance.
UVCA, right? Mm-hmm. UCBA, United Cannabis Business Alliance, with their very 60s psychedelic graphics.
It's a good-looking campaign.
It is. It's very, very nice. Well, which are you talking about? The California's propaganda campaign?
It's pretty.
You mean the beast?
Which one?
You're not talking about California's out-of-focus cannabis. You know how you can tell what's legal and illegal cannabis in California, Chela?
It's out of focus if it's illegal.
If the bud is out of focus, it's illegal.
Right.
According to the billboard campaigns by the Bureau. Here, I'll show you what I'm talking about for those who would like a visual representation of what I speak. You're not going to let me see this picture. Let's try this. Here we go. You see?
There you go.
This was right outside the theater.
Yep.
I took a picture of it. This is not my picture. This is the BCCA's picture.
Yeah.
Hashtag GetWeedWise. Use CaliforniaPotCheck.com to determine if your store is legal.
I know mine is legal because the director of mine is one of the directors at the UCBA.
He's definitely legal.
It's definitely legal.
But you'll see that the way to tell if your weed is legal is if it's out of focus.
Legal. Terrible. Regulated. If it's in the regulated system. My favorite part about that was connecting with the legislators. That was the best part. And the second best part was when Cat Packer said, let's call it regulated and unregulated, shall we?
There were some good moments.
Yes.
Proud moments.
Yes, Cannabis Sativa. Narcs and Squares in charge of these campaigns. Yep. Does
illegal weed have something to hide? All of these amazing cannabis photographers in California. There are so many awesome cannabis photographers in this state.
Yeah.
And this is what California decides to use as their campaign. Out of focus cannabis pictures.
I wonder if they're even pictures of cannabis.
People are going like, well, they go into the shop. They're like, that doesn't look like anything that's on the billboard. Must be fine. Must be good.
Must be legal weed.
Must be legal weed.
Weed. Illegal weed. See the language they use. Illegal and weed. Weed is not a good thing. It's not positive. Shop licensed cannabis retailers only.
Yeah, so they've got a website you can go and find out who's paid up. There's only going to be so many of them in the city of Los Angeles, the largest cannabis economy or potential market in the world.
I continue to say we must keep giving them pushback and talk about patients and elucidate that cannabis helps dementia better than anything. Cannabis helps autism better than anything. Cannabis helps cancer. Cannabis helps so many incurable and hard to deal with diseases. And just like Dennis Perone did, we need to put patients on the front lines. That's how we're going to get through this.
That's ultimately the story of Dennis Perone. Is he was a patient that found medicine that helped, and
he loved patients who needed medicine.
Yeah, and so it wasn't it was
he was Harvey Milk's dealer.
Yeah, and patient of Micoria, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, Todd Micoria was the doctor at his dispensary.
Right.
And he did studies on the people there. It was amazing.
So, California is basically gone Just Say No 2.0.
Well, that's what they were saying. Oh, we don't want it to be that. I think they're going to find that their intentions were not... Their intentions were great, but the execution is not going to be awesome. You know what, guys, though? Really, I think it's important that all of us who are rowing in this same direction, as Phil Britton would say, row, everybody row. Try to, I know I'm not super social either, Jilly Love, but I have tried very hard to get out and meet new people and meet other people working in the same direction. Like, we met Social Equity LA folks and the Collective Strategies LA folks and Cannabis, and at CanMed I met all these amazing people from the Society of Cannabis Clinicians. So when you go out and you go to events that really strike your fancy, like I don't care for these, mostly just vendor events. I like the ones where there's lots of speakers. I'm dorky like that, and that's what I like to go to. But find the ones that you like to go to. Maybe you like those vendor events. I don't know. Everybody has their thing. But find some events that you want to go to and connect with people that are trying to move this ball forward, and find a way to connect and activate in the space, because it's really fun. It's really fun, and it's really cool to get to know new people, and it's leading us to all kinds of interesting and new things. And
well, it's really cool to watch a budding industry.
It is.
Coming out of the shadows, moving into the corporate consumption space. They all of these, many of these brands. One of the stories in the Chronicle this week actually is how these brands are trying to take on a corporate face that is positive, right, Chela? They're out front in trying to say, listen, we want to be good corporate citizens, as we completely trash the environment, the world even more with their stupid 10 milligram per package law they just passed in Canada.
Oh, Canada.
But they're trying to put a face on of good corporate citizenship. Many companies that we've met that are actually doing excellent work trying to give back and trying to make sure the people that have been affected by the drug war.
Even the big ones want to do that now.
Cage-free cannabis is involved, and there are many brands that are getting involved in groups like that.
There's a story in this week's thing. The big guys.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, the big guys are like, oh, we gotta do good stuff.
They're saying we are good corporate citizens.
Yeah, give people who are starting in the cannabis industry, who are making under $200,000 a year, stock options as soon as they start.
Awesome idea.
What? That's awesome.
Yeah, awesome idea. That would definitely go
make up for
very
some
far
stuff.
It also go very far to create to create a completely new financial group of succeeders,
middle class?
Yeah, a middle class. Yeah. Middle class.
I
Yeah.
think they used to call it
Essentially,
middle
They used
class.
to call it middle class. It would be very similar to unionizing. That'd be another thing being done by local a lot of them are local 770 specifically. I think they are actually. I think they're involved.
They are.
But the UFCW, I believe, is a national organization, certainly statewide, is involved in unionizing cannabis space.
No, it's national.
Yeah, it's national, right?
Yep.
So, yes, can the cannabis industry create an equitable financial engine that can create another middle class? Steel, automobile industry, auto industry?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Didn't Ford give his people, he certainly paid his people enough so they could buy the damn product. That's what he did, his Nazi self.
Marijuana industry sets environmental and ethical goals.
That's it.
In marijuana, it's a Channel 4 story.
NBC.
And also, yes. So it's interesting. And by the way, this is because of public pressure.
Oh yeah, it's all.
The conversation
Sure.
in the cannabis community has been toward this, and it's all because of you all that this is happening. So
all of the activists that have been testifying before city councils and state legislators.
Yep. And talking about it at your dispensaries, because whenever we do go to our dispensaries, we always, look at the brands, because we know which brands are who and who the farmers are and stuff. And we make sure to talk to the people behind the counter and say, oh, no, I don't want to use that one because they were just bought by MedMen, so I don't want to use that product. And guess what? I didn't see that product the next time I went to go shop there. So that's kind of cool. I don't want products that are bought by MedMen. So cool.
Absolutely.
Also, another story I really liked in the...
Oh, there it is. I found it.
Oh, which? Okay, go ahead.
I know I have this story.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you do.
From NBC4. Marijuana
Yes.
industry sets environmental ethical goals. The 45-member Global Cannabis Partnership issued guidelines aimed at minimizing greenhouse gas emissions and promoting ethical conduct and responsible pot use.
Yeah. Responsible pot use.
Look, they have a video. Let's see what it says.
Here.
As marijuana legalization grows, cannabis is coming out of the closet and into the open at social events.
People are much more willing to consume at your average dinner party or have it be a gift that you might see either coming your way or one you might be inclined to give.
In Higher Etiquette, Lizzie Post offers advice to navigate the world of marijuana manners.
There's been a long established etiquette to cannabis culture.
For those whose stoner schooling ended at Puff Puff Pass,
Of course, no bogarting.
there can be a lot to learn. Whether it's for casual use
I like
or
that
a special
hookah.
event, Post
Dude,
addresses how
that's a
to
party
handle
hookah.
cannabis with class,
Here we have our place setting.
including a guide to table setting for paired dinners,
Put your
Did you get
bowl
it?
on your left.
best practices for sharing devices,
Be careful. Try not to consume with others. If you're sick, stick to your own personal methods.
and for those planning a weedcation, if you're not staying at a bud and breakfast, check accommodations to make sure imbibing is allowed on the property.
420 friendly, very common phrases in this community.
Whether cannabis is absorbed, infused, eaten, or smoked, keep in mind that some may want to keep their consumption offline.
Always ask first whether someone's comfortable with photos being taken.
And of course, always tip your bud tender. Liz McLaughlin, NBC News.
Always tip your butt tender because they don't get paid enough. I don't know if the ease delivery guy gets paid enough either. But
I think they do.
they get paid well.
Yeah, I think they do. Show
Considering you can get mugged as one did recently.
Let's show the Market Watch story.
This
Before
is
we move on to the afterburn.
You sent me that. Did you just send me that?
I
in
did.
the
I just said
Facebook?
that I sent it to you.
I did. I am.
You're catching up?
Catching up. So
You're
I can
30
get to
seconds delayed?
it. I'm stalling so I can get to the link. Go, speak the speak. I pray thee. I will bring it up.
Speech, I pray you. Jilly Love, your toilet paper is bamboo and sugarcane?
Nice.
Really? Where do you buy
I'm
that?
not sure how that would feel.
I'm sure it's super soft.
Is this the Canopy story?
Yeah. And the quote.
Got
Did you
it.
get the quote?
I see the quote.
So let's speak this quote.
You want me? Oh, you would like me to speak? The quote.
Yeah, speak the quote, and then show the story.
Copy that. Let's see. This is all on the fly.
This is all on the fly, y'all.
So this story comes out of Market Watch. Canopy co-CEO defends large losses as a deserved reward for pot company's employees. From the article, anybody who makes less than $200,000 a year should receive 1% times their starting salary in options on their first day at a cannabis company, Linton said. Linton said that states in the U.S. should issue a mandate requiring stock compensation for every employee working in the marijuana industry. Quote, the effect will be that this might be the New Deal economy, Linton said. If they did this right, it could have corporate social outcomes that are way better aligned with changing who gets rich at the top. Every place that talks about corporate social responsibility and corporate social justice should say, how can we actually do that so it's not just a small cohort at the top of ownership structure, but inclusive of everyone that participates in the sector? A noble goal by, that's the head of Canopy? Yes. Co-CEO.
Yeah.
Co-CEO.
He was on the
Canopy.
news. You're going to show it later.
I am. As a matter of fact, as we roll into the afterburn here, that little impromptu video about cannabis etiquette, I didn't realize there was a certain place you put your buds when you're at a cannabis. Does that make sense? I wouldn't make sense to me because I guess that's where the pipe is, because you want to take your bud to load your pipe. So I don't know if you want your bud on the left. I think you want your bud on the right so that you can load it into your pipe. But I suppose if it's J's, you can pick it up with your left and then create your own.
Create your own. Everybody do their own thing.
Just past the Dolce to the left.
Yeah, just
and
share.
I do agree that bogarting the joint is not cool.
Unless you have herpes, keep your own damn
Unless
joint.
you've been to Coachella within the last 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, at that event, you guys, there was a smoking lounge upstairs, which was very interesting because that was totally
perfectly legal.
Totally, I think people were just going rogue. I don't know what.
Perfectly
but anyway,
legal cannabis event, I'm sure.
So it was very awkward. But I saw everybody smoking, and everybody. Oh, I think I said that was at Coachella. I don't want any part of that. I don't want herpes on my lips.
We went to one definitely an unsanctioned party but
didn't pretend to be a sanctioned party.
Did not pretend. No, it was a private event.
Silliness.
But there was a brand there that had these very cool tips, these little glass tips that you could just, if somebody passes you a joint, you just throw it in your tip.
Oh,
here you go.
Personal tip like a condom.
Personal tip like a condom. Yeah, potdom. Jointdom, a reefer, ribbed for your reefer. But maybe that's the answer. I don't know, but definitely, yeah. You know what? Keep your joint. Thanks. I got my own. Everybody bring your own joints. There you go.
No, you should share.
Share your own. Here's one for you.
Here's one for you.
Here's one for you. Here's your own personal. Now that would be kind of cool. A company, a branding company that would put like your joints, your J's. Okay, somebody watching? Somebody watching out there? Your J's or something to that effect. And basically, it's like those keychain racks where you go and everybody's name is on a keychain.
Yeah.
You just have you have a bunch of different packs that have your name on your joint, on your at the end of your filter. Dave.
With your initial, maybe.
Maybe your initial.
J.
I don't know. Print your own.
I think your initial is a good idea.
Boy, very creative. This, what are we smoking in this Flocana?
Hollywood Way?
What's the strain?
Oh my God. You know, these packages are so small, you guys, that it's really hard to read them.
I really don't understand what the labeling is of everything that's in it when no one literally can read it unless you're 15 years old.
And they're not supposed to.
You have to be under 21.
It was grown in Mendocino County. Hang on.
Okay.
Happy Day Headband.
Oh, Happy Day Headband. Of course, I know
Happy Day Farm.
I know. Oh, Happy Day Farm Headband. Okay.
Headband, yes.
That's cool.
Headband is creative.
And we are also, as we start to get ready to roll into the afterburn, where we hotbox the mainstream media.
Yeah.
And their coverage of marijuana.
With an H.
With an H. We will be enjoying some Old Pal
Old
cannabis
Pal.
in this very nice, ready to blow, ready to roll. Yes, ready to blow. Ready to see. I need glasses even for this package. Ready to roll. Old Pal comes in a nice little sack, little package, and
is that childproof?
It is. It is, with the instructions.
Because kids can't use scissors.
It took me about 3 extra minutes to figure out how to open it.
You chose not to use scissors. That was very restrained.
Well, I wasn't sure if I was going to demonstrate it on the show,
as you just did.
As I just did, but I'll show you. So this was what we got from the Blue People today, the regulated cannabis Blue People, which not so good for companies, I understand, but I digress. This is one of their brands that they carry. They keep their prices very low in this delivery service, which I guess maybe some folks aren't really prepared for. But these guys,
a lot of folks are not prepared for pot for pennies.
Yeah,
and being able to, really provide medicine to the masses. They're just not.
But this is this is probably the best deal on this delivery service, and you can get a half an ounce of nicely packed sack of full flower.
Full flower, ready to roll. I like that.
Ready to roll. So you don't need a grinder, really. I did grind it up though. They give you a wonderful little, it's like a little tobacco pack, and they give you, which is awesome, papers. They give you papers with.
That came with it?
Yeah.
Far out.
Comes with it. Half ounce for $50 plus $20 tax. Sorry. Yeah, $20 tax.
Damn.
Taxes and fees.
My God.
So $50 for half ounce of sativa.
So it's $70.
15 grams of, or 15 milligrams of THC. And, blah, blah,
wow.
Blah, blah. This is, it has the name of the strain back here, but I can't read it.
There you go.
Watch this. Purple Desert Sativa, 13% THC, 9%, 9%? No, 0%. Even with my glasses.
You need more stronger glasses.
This package contains cannabis, a Schedule 1 controlled substance. Keep out of reach of children and animals. Cannabis may only be possessed or consumed by persons 21 years of age or older, unless this person is a qualified patient. Cannabis use whole while pregnant or breastfeeding, the other place are freaking out, used for centuries, may be harmful. Consumption of cannabis impairs your ability to drive. There's the other one. And operate machinery. Please use extreme caution. Extreme caution. So we've been using extreme caution, rolling some J's.
In the privacy of our own home.
Right. Of age.
Not leaving.
We met all the criteria.
If you're not 21, get out of here. Unless you're a medical.
And it's it's not the highest terpene, but I actually enjoy it. I enjoy it. Get your glasses. That's right. Thank you.
I enjoy it.
You enjoy it as well?
I do.
We did get some Henrys earlier as well.
Yeah, Henry's 2-to-1.
Which was a nice 2-to-1 CBD.
Except, you know what? I'm not positive I like these filters.
Which ones?
The Old Pal.
Oh, the Old Pal, really?
Well, I gotta make an adjustment because I keep getting cannabis falling out.
Filters, crutches are always like, you're basically making a crutch from what they give you. Which is very, very thoughtful of Old Pal at $50 a half ounce.
Yeah,
plus $20,
terrific.
plus $20 in taxes in the city of Los Angeles. But we were brainwashed by all that propaganda over at the event Friday. So
no.
So my dad used to.
Never mind. I don't wish to continue.
So my dad used to do with his Camels, but he didn't have a filter on it at all. I'd be like,
well.
Yeah, it's all right, yeah. Not super flavorful, but I think I like Old Pal. They usually have really good deals occasionally. They have I got to say
I appreciate Old Pal.
I'll tell you, they put out these guys put out a 30% off today this morning for Humboldt Farms.
Oh,
which we enjoy.
Why did you get it?
Because they didn't have any.
Oh, because they sold out.
I guess they either sold out or I don't know what happened. But this morning, right after I clicked on the email, it's like, oh no, it's not there anymore.
They were at this Friday party.
Oh, were they?
Symposium. Was it a symposium?
Gold Flora was there.
PR launch.
Delta 9 was there.
Oh, yeah. All the players.
All the players were there.
Candies.
Candescent.
Candies upstairs. Kush.
Kush.
Sugar Kush? No, Kush something or other.
It was it was a relatively small but enjoyable event.
It was a lovely event. It was a lovely event.
Cannabis space, but this is the if they were to unleash the weed in this country, and you did something like here's the thing about what Cannabis CEO is saying. You have to look at what's been going on, the public pressure that's been from the bottom up about who's getting rich off of the now legalization of cannabis specifically in Canada, and here of course, but nationally being done in Canada, which raked in the taxes to people from the less than 20% or so of people that are participating in their market. 30%.
Way less than California, though.
Well, yeah, we're going to see that in the afterburn as we get into that. As a matter of fact,
this is the transition to the first
story. This is our transition. We're firing up our Old Pal. What are you guys smoking?
Yeah, what's everybody smoking today?
Who's stuck in with us? Vegan Metro, Jilly Love, MDN Niles, Cannabis Sativa, Laura P. I saw Holy Cannabis Oil in there earlier. Did I not? Yes?
Yes, I'm starting to think that Sunday afternoon might be a bad time for the show.
Well, we did. One of the things that did happen this week, we were able to catch the SBA hearing, which was conveniently streamed live, and that was we grabbed that on the show, and we had a few viewers there. We had newer viewers. It's I don't know. What do you guys think? Should we try to just sort of do the show what's the best days for you guys to watch the show? Is Sunday at 4:20 Pacific?
Well, they're always here.
Convenient? Well, like Brian Arbor said, I wasn't sure how long I was going to last. These guys are always here, right? Exactly. These guys are the ones that are here from the very end. But like, for instance, we get more people that jump in for the afterburn sometimes later in the evening.
Maybe they just don't like us.
Maybe they don't. They hate us. Where's Phil Britton, man? How come Phil Britton's not here?
I'm sure he's rolling around somewhere doing work.
But like Upstate Raider, he joined us during the week. A couple of folks were jumping in that we had, normally.
People are busy on Sunday, man.
People are busy. We should just go, maybe we should just go more live more often, with, less content, and just try to be more available out there with breaking news or something, Let's don't change it. We like it. Gypsy Lady Lee, our ardent watcher and supporter, always there for us.
Always there for us. I appreciate you.
We do indeed. And we appreciate all of you, actually, everybody who's watching multi-streaming now always have been on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitch, DLive, and Weed TV, the Cannabis Media Network. Wherever you're watching, give us a shout out, wherever you are. Dabba Cannabis 420 over on DLive is there. I see.
Oh, cool.
Nexus Rift 50 is over there, checking in on DLive. So wherever you're at, wherever you're watching, I hadn't really checked the Facebook stream yet, because we don't put that on with the music, because they'll immediately mute you with the music. They even hate the YouTube free music over on the Facebook. So that's why we multi-stream, guys, just in case we end up not being able to engage and stream on other folks, because we like to get this education out. So whatever platform you're on, please subscribe, like, share, thumbs up. If you got an extra buck or two, like Ellen Blasey, I saw her in there. Holy Cannabis Oil, Laura P. If you want to be a patron or supporter on Streamlabs, the links I'll drop the links in the chat. They're at the top of the channel, but I'll drop them in the links as we get into the afterburn. I am going to shut down the YouTube stream for this one because it does help me. It just automatically makes another video, and and it will, because last week Rick Steves nailed us.
Oh, really? Rick Steves
nailed us and shut us down globally.
Oh, Rick
so
Steves.
I had to cut him out, and we claim fair use because this is education. This
Rick
is
Steves.
commentary. This is we add marijuana smoke theater 420. We hotbox the mainstream media.
I bet I could get Rick Steves to come on the show himself. It's not Rick Steves.
I'm sure it's
It's
his
Rick
overlords.
Steves' production company. Yeah, Overlords. Yeah.
But we feel that informing people about the laws and the stuff that's happening in cannabis, because you know what? Nobody fucking knows. You talk to people we know, you talk to people, it's like, oh, really? Oh, really? What was the story about the guy that called the cops because somebody was smoking cannabis in their backyard?
Yeah.
And they
furious.
said, sir, he was furious.
It's legal.
Furious people were smoking weed. Sir, it's legal in California. What do you mean it's illegal? Who did that? When did that happen? So as in many of the stories this week, you'll see there are family caregivers turned advocates trying to educate people about cannabis and cannabis medicine. And that's what we try to do here on Reefer Revolution Live every week, Sundays at 4:20 for now, and maybe more often in different spots, to educate and destigmatize and normalize cannabis use, proving once and for all that even old people could be interested in pot and news. Two old people sitting around talking about the news, smoking weed with their friends.
Oh, I'm like, who are you talking about? Oh, that's us.
Oh, that's us.
I'm not old. I'm middle-aged.
That's right. Well, you know,
I guess I'm kind of old.
I look pretty good for 65, I'd say.
You really do.
I do. It's pretty
You're 55.
You're
55, but you do look great for 65.
I do. It's absolutely. I fully intend to look like this at 65.
That's because your skin is so shiny, oily, moist.
I have it all. I have you all to thank for you, Dave. You have made us a healthy duo to.
Oh, thanks, babe.
Make it through this crazy toxic world.
Are you saying that I'm a nag? I'm not really sure what's happening.
Well, you know, I have said in the past I am vegetarian by marriage.
You are.
But you know, I thought it was fully worth it, and it certainly has been fully worth it for my health, as far as I'm concerned. So.
You know, we're coming up on an anniversary here.
We are indeed.
We got 26 coming up. All right, well, you might as well shut it down. We got 28 people watching. Let's see how many of you come back.
So don't go away. If
Have
you
a
do
great
jump out of the
week
chat.
if we don't see you on the other side.
We're going to come right back up. We're going to stay on the other channels. I'm just going to shut down YouTube for 30 seconds so it'll start another video. We'll be back on the main channel if for some reason you get out of the chat. But if you stay in the chat, I think you should be okay.
No, it keeps disappearing.
Does it? All right. So refresh.
Refresh, everybody. We'll see you soon.
See you in 30 seconds. Free the plant, free the people.